Hey, today I'm sitting home trying to ride out this hurricane. The sun is shining, the birds are singing. I think it's over with, but who knows? Anyway, just again trying to organize thoughts, um, working on a new look. Uh, See, I'm hair challenged, but whatever. I got my collars on. Okay, I want to talk to you really. This is sort of a glossary. Mass in physics. Okay, I'm going to read this. The inertial mass of a body is a measure of the body's resistance to acceleration by some external force. Okay, and the way I want you to think of it is this: baseball bat, softball, hit the softball, goes pretty far. Throw a shot put, which is about the same size, but much denser. Okay, and density is like a pound of rocks versus a pound of feathers. Uh, rock's more dense. You can poke holes in the feathers. But anyway, same size. You try to hit that, that shot put, you're going to shatter the bat. So the massiveness of the shot put is basically because of the density of the iron versus a softball. Okay, and it all leads us to the idea of condensing. Okay, when we condense, I'm reading this off this paper here, by the way, so that's why I keep staring over it. When we condense our body, what we're trying to do is make ourselves smaller, more dense, with a hard surface. Okay, we don't want to be flailing. We don't want to be extended where we're exposing levers to our opponents. Okay, we want to condense, we want to shorten our legs, tighten up our upper body, etc., and so on. Okay, now, momentum is mass times velocity. Okay, a bulldozer weighs like what 10 tons, and it's only traveling at 5 miles an hour. It's got a lot more punch than a car traveling at 5 miles an hour that weighs maybe 2 tons. Okay, but when that car is traveling 50 miles an hour, it's got quite a bit of punch. The problem with momentum is it's difficult to control. Once a an object is in momentum, it's hard to accelerate it, change the direction. Okay, acceleration is our game. We're motionless. We're on the line of scrimmage. All of a sudden, we're moving. Okay, we're twitching. Okay, uh, we're changing direction. That's the kind of things that's football, at least at close quarters. And to tell you the truth, it's probably football everywhere. How many times you see a guy come flying up and miss a tackle because he's got so much momentum he can't change direction, and the runner is boom, just giving him a little of this and a little of that, and then he accelerates. Okay, so to me, the game is a combination of things for us, condensing. Okay, and if you say it's difficult to accelerate a massive object, okay, from an external force, but by the same token, if you have an internal force and the object is small and concise, it's not flopping all over the place. It's easy for me to accelerate with my legs when I'm condensed, and we've said this a number of times. Okay, it's common sense. A high speed, you want to be up on your toes and running. Okay, and then acceleration, changing direction. You want to lower yourself. You want to get your body closer to the line, to the ground. You want to shorten up your legs so that you have mechanical advantage. Okay, and I want to talk about friction. Okay, friction for us is our feet don't slide. Okay, friction is a force that prevents sliding. Okay, so if you're on mud, you take big steps with long legs, you're going to slide. You condense. Okay, it's easier for you to move. Okay, grass. As the friction improves, turf. It becomes less and less of an issue in terms of friction, but still, all those advantages of being low with a good mechanical advantage and condensed, you're going to be better. Okay, better than somebody who's out. Okay, um, Mechanical advantage, you're bolted to something. Okay, when you put a bolt through two parts and tighten it up. Okay, well, mechanical advantage is also the spikes. Mechanical advantage is getting your hands on somebody, okay, attaching yourself to his handles. And we talk about the handles being in the armpits and under the shoulder pads, okay, on the hip, anywhere that we can get a connection, okay, that's difficult to break. You know, you grab a guy by the arm, you know, I mean, he moves. You grab him by the shirt moves, the pads move. Okay, here they're tight. There's a strap, and here, well, hell, that's talk to a wrestler about armpits. Okay, a guy wrestles with his arms out, with his elbows out. They generally call him pinned. It's the same as a boxer that wrestles with his hands wide. Okay, inertia is a body at rest remains at rest, and a body in motion remains in motion. Okay, so the more massive a guy is, the more inertia he has, the harder it is for you to get him moving. Okay, we want to change our opponent. Okay, it's hard to get a heavier guy moving. By the same token, if he's already moving, if he has momentum, it's hard to redirect him. It's hard to move him if you have to overcome the momentum. Okay, so what we try to do is get angles on things like that, and we don't want to overcome the momentum. But if a guy has no momentum, if he's just in resting inertia, we want to use torque. Okay, we want to use tools. We want to twist him. Okay, because it's too hard to push him against his friction. It's too hard to push his massiveness. Just push it. Okay, I want you to think of you're pushing a boulder. Okay, you're pushing the boulder. You're trying to push it along the ground. Maybe you're pulling it. I don't know. There's friction there. The boulder is fighting you. Roll the boulder. That's torquing the boulder. You're rolling the boulder. You're rolling it. You're treating it like it's a wheel now. You're using the structure of the boulder. A wheel is nothing but infinite numbers of levers. That's all it is. Okay, if you think about it, wherever you grab the wheel, you can turn it around the hub. Okay, and you can apply torque. The bigger the wheel, the more torque. Okay, torque again is force twisting around an axis. Okay, so just think of a steering wheel. I'm torquing the wheel. I'm using a guy's shoulder pads and his handles to torque him. I'm adding force to destabilize him, and I'm using the structure of his body, okay, as a tool. Okay, I'm using the structure of my body as a tool, okay, to apply torque. Okay, I don't want to talk about the technique of doing it. You guys can argue about that yourselves. I'm just more interested in the concepts of torque. Okay, angular momentum is something, when we talked about circular force, when I kind of introduced circular force as a concept at the Cool Clinic, what was it, 2015. Okay, I should have said angular momentum, and all angular momentum is a combination of forces. Okay, force travels in straight lines. Okay, and gravity bends the force, or if you're spinning a rock around your head, the rock has momentum and inertia depending on how much force or acceleration depending on the type of input you put into it, and the rope, the string, okay, is holding the rock in a circle. If that string cuts, the rock doesn't continue to travel in a circle. It goes straight. Okay. Force on Earth is bent always with gravity. Okay. We can also bend force by adding another force, and that's something that's circular force. Okay. When I go to throw a shot put, I might be twisting it in a circle, but as soon as I let it goes straight, and then it flies, and then gravity pulls it down. Okay. Levers are tools that produce torque. Okay. We already talk ad infinitum about this lever. This is a third class lever, and basically you've got a fulcrum. you've got a force input and a load input. You're doing a curl. The force input is ahead of it's between the fulcrum, the elbow joint, and the load. Okay, and what you're doing is you're moving the input very little at poor mechanical advantage, but you're moving the load quite a bit. Okay, this isn't traveling anywhere near as far as this is. This isn't traveling anywhere near as fast as this is. Unfortunately, you trade force. You need a heck of a lot more force. When you use a lever in a different manner, where you put the load on one end, a fulcrum in the middle, and a long input lever, now you've got that mechanical advantage again. You can Google that stuff and look it up. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, but levers are tools that exchange force and distance, go back and forth. Okay, so if you have a lever that's giving you more distance, you need to put enough force in. If you have a lever that's giving you force, it's not going to move as far. Okay, that's just the way it is. But that's okay, because what we have to do is develop a momentum on an opponent who has a lot of resting inertia, or inertia through momentum. We got to change him. Well, change his direction. Okay, collision is any touch. Okay, it doesn't that anything you touch is a collision. Okay, and collisions can be either one-dimensional, which is, I can't even imagine this happening, or two-dimensional. Okay, so two-dimensional collisions have some angle to them. Okay, so okay, or okay. So there's what we know is that when there's a collision where one force is encountering just the mass. Okay, so right here I got this mass going, and this force is encountering just the mass. It's not one of these. It's not a head-on collision. I don't have to overcome any of the momentum that's been developed. Well, we can change quite a bit. Two cars are head-on, boom. Okay, one T-bones the other, boom. Okay, they both get changed a little bit, but the one that gets broadsided or T-boned is really going to get changed. You can flip those. I mean, you've seen cars flip dump trucks over. Okay, and collisions. There's also elastic collisions where you run into something and you bounce. Okay, like billiard balls, they bounce off each other. They do change shape very, very small. You can't even see, it's imperceptible. Basically, they return to shape. They're like balls. They're bounce. An inelastic collision is generally cars, okay, and unfortunately players. You're in one shape and you hit somebody and your shape changes. I mean, you get shattered. Okay, I used to call it splashed. I still do. But what we want to do is be elastic. We want a hard surface. We don't want to get splashed. We want to harden ourselves up through co-contraction. Okay, this muscle and this muscle fight to hold that elbow tight. We want to co-contract and be hard so that when we hit somebody, they splash and we don't. Okay, it's kind of nice. We want to deform them. We want them all shattered. We don't want to get shattered. We want to be a rock. Okay, a condensed hard surface. We don't want to extend ourselves. We don't want to be like this. Okay, when I came up with the playing long, okay, the term playing long, of course I didn't invent it. It was just something you gotta give something a name. Okay, what it meant was I am going to adapt my hands to whatever surface I get. Okay, trying to get into the handles. That's what it meant. It meant don't always play like that. We stopped playing like this. I don't know how many years ago. University of Massachusetts, 1993. Okay, we stopped with the guns. We started playing with our hands in front of us. Okay, but long just meant, okay, it's you'd like to play like this all the time, you know, the medicine ball, the meatballs and all that, but sometimes you have to change to get that surface. Okay, so you have to educate yourself to do that. Okay, that's really not deforming. Deforming is when your legs are straighter, you know, your hips are, I don't know, you know, you're straight. You're not condensed. Okay, you've got a mechanical disadvantage. You might be strong, you might be rigid, but you're exposing yourself. You're becoming a tool for your opponent. Okay, you take a step, he's going to break you loose. All right. We want to create maximum change in our opponent with minimum change in ourselves. Okay, so you know that word twitch. Okay, we want to hit people with twitch. We don't want to hit them with full strokes. Even if we're playing long, we want to twitch. We want to twitch. Okay, we want to, and this is all Tai Chi. Okay, you know, the rooting your feet. Boom, you're boom. You know, people say, well, you're vibrating. Well, you're not. You're twitching. Boom, you're twitching. Boom. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, you know that video that everybody sees, that you know my guy's hitting the ball. He is condensed. He's rooted. His hips are low, and he's twitching that ball. Boom. Okay, that's what he's doing. Okay, the three things that we're working on constantly are the rock. Okay, adapting. Okay, the shoulder roll, which I really like, and gator legs or gator stepping. That is making sure that your knees, I'm not going to go through it, you've seen enough, but your knees are bent, your toes are out. I'll see if I can do it a little bit here. Okay. Your knees are bent, your knees are bent, your toes are out, your hips are abducted so that your feet, see my foot? It's flat. When I get this, I tend to put too much pressure on my patella and too much pressure on my dorsiflexion. When I do this, I'm rooted. I'm firm. I can condense more. Okay, this is of course the Shiko, you know, the Shiko. And what I've recently discovered is if I lower myself down with my arms and then just take my arms off, I can get a little lower. Okay, this is about as low as I want to go, and I just remove that force from my arms, and I get a little lower. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now, and see you later.